Today, let's explore a heartfelt story about patience, self-respect, and unexpected changes. It all begins with a successful Black couple, Aaron and Lily Morgan, on their way to Singapore for a well-deserved vacation after months of hard work. With first-class tickets in hand, they were looking forward to a peaceful flight. Instead, they encountered coldness and discrimination from the flight attendant, Rebecca. The simmering tension in the first-class cabin was not only a test of Aaron and Lily's resolve, but also the beginning of a series of events that forced everyone on board to reevaluate their perceptions. What about their calm yet firm actions made people stop and think? And would Rebecca come to understand the lesson in her thoughtless behavior? Join us as we delve into this inspiring story. If you appreciate lessons on self-worth and change, don't forget to subscribe to ensure you never miss another meaningful story. We believe tales like this one will touch your heart and spread positive messages to others. How do you think you would react if you were in Aaron and Lily's situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Aaron, tall and broad-shouldered, wore a perfectly tailored gray suit. He carried a compact suitcase and a sleek leather bag, his polished shoes making steady clicks on the tiled floor. Lily, in a simple yet elegant cream dress, walked beside her husband. A delicate silver necklace shimmered faintly under the lights, adding a touch of classic beauty to her appearance. In her hand, she clutched their first-class tickets and passports, as if ensuring they were always within reach. "Finally, it's time for our vacation," Lily said softly, a gentle smile gracing her lips. "You know, I've been dreaming about this trip for a whole month." Aaron glanced at her, his gaze tender. "Me too. Just a few more hours and we'll leave all the work stress behind." At the Horizon Lux check-in counter, Aaron and Lily stood in the priority line reserved for first-class passengers. Even so, they felt the eyes of other travelers on them, stares that weren't just curious but carried a hint of scrutiny. Lily tilted her head slightly, pretending to check her phone, but her hands tightened just a bit, as if suppressing the unease rising inside her. They approached the counter, where a staff member named Mandy was on duty. Mandy, a woman with short brown hair, glanced at them briefly, her eyes skimming over them indifferently. "Good morning. Tickets and passports, please," she said in a flat tone, devoid of warmth. Aaron placed the two tickets and passports on the counter, smiling politely. "Good morning. We're very excited to experience Horizon Lux today." Mandy glanced at the documents, her face momentarily showing a hint of surprise at the words, "first class." She began inspecting them more slowly than necessary, her eyes darting between Aaron and Lily, as if searching for something unusual. "One moment," she said, typing loudly on her keyboard. Aaron and Lily stood still, but Lily could feel her heartbeat quicken. She leaned slightly toward him and whispered, "Do you think something's wrong?" Aaron gently squeezed her hand, reassuring her. "It's fine. Probably just a routine check." After a few minutes, Mandy slid the tickets and passports back with a forced smile. "Everything looks good. Have a great flight. Next time, I'd recommend booking earlier if you want better seats." Aaron raised an eyebrow slightly. "Actually, we are sitting in first class," he said in a calm but clear voice. Mandy's face flushed briefly before she quickly regained her cool, professional demeanor. "Oh, of course. Enjoy your trip." As they walked away, Lily held onto Aaron's arm and spoke softly but sharply. "Did you notice she did that on purpose?" Aaron gave a slight nod, his smile fading. "Let's not focus on it, Lily. Stay calm." They continued toward the security checkpoint, but their steps felt heavier. Aaron exchanged a glance with Lily, and both understood that while nothing major had happened yet, they could sense the signs of an uneasy day ahead. At the checkpoint, a tall security officer named Derek gestured for them to step aside. "Random check," he said in a flat tone, though his gaze lingered on them longer than it should have. Aaron kept his composure, offering a slight smile. "Of course, we're happy to cooperate." They had to open all their luggage, even though everything was perfectly in order. Lily glanced at the people passing by without being stopped, feeling as if curious and occasionally contemptuous eyes were directed at them. Aaron clasped her hand firmly, his gaze steady, as if to say, "We'll get through this." When the process was complete, they walked away outwardly composed, but inside Lily couldn't stop wondering, why does this always happen to us? As they approached the boarding gate, Aaron turned to her with a reassuring smile. "We've done everything right. Let's just enjoy this flight." Lily nodded, but the weight in her chest lingered, refusing to dissipate. Aaron and Lily entered Horizon Lux's first-class lounge, a space adorned with luxurious furnishings, soft leather chairs, warm golden lighting, and neatly arranged bookshelves. The faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the air, blending seamlessly with the gentle piano music playing through the sound system. Lily glanced around, trying to relax after the tense encounters at the check-in counter and security checkpoint. "At least this place looks decent," she murmured, attempting to inject a bit of positivity. Aaron nodded, though the sharpness in his gaze revealed his lingering vigilance. The couple chose a small table near the large glass windows, offering a clear view of the bustling runway outside. Lily adjusted the scarf on her shoulders, trying to appear at ease, but she couldn't ignore the occasional glances from other passengers in the lounge. A middle-aged man in a suit, Walter, sitting not far away, peeked at them over the edge of his newspaper, quickly turning away when Lily caught his eye. "Do you feel it?" Lily whispered, lowering her voice as though afraid someone might overhear. Aaron looked at her, his expression steady. "Feel what?" "The looks. It's like they're wondering why we're here." Lily glanced down at the table, trying to conceal her discomfort. "Like we don't belong." Aaron offered a faint, reassuring smile. "Don't pay them any mind. We're here because we deserve to be. What they think doesn't matter." Lily sighed, picking up the glass of water on the table and taking a small sip. Yet no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't shake the growing unease within her. A lounge attendant named Rebecca entered the room, carrying a tray of drinks. The young woman, slender with her hair tied in a neat ponytail, wore a practiced, faint smile. Rebecca moved through the lounge with polished courtesy, but as she approached Aaron and Lily's table, she hesitated briefly before stepping forward. "Would you like anything to drink?" Rebecca asked, her tone light but tinged with reluctance. "I'll have a coffee and a hot tea for my wife," Aaron replied, offering a polite smile. Rebecca nodded, jotting down their order before turning away without so much as a farewell. Lily raised an eyebrow at Aaron, a faint, wry smile tugging at her lips. "She's not exactly brimming with enthusiasm, is she?" she remarked, her voice low enough for only Aaron to hear. Aaron didn't reply, merely squeezing her hand gently, a silent reminder not to let small slights ruin their mood. Lily adjusted her posture, trying to focus on the magazine in her hands, but it wasn't long before she overheard murmurs from a nearby table. A group of three, two men and a woman, were speaking in hushed tones, though their words carried clearly enough. "They're really sitting here?" one man said, his tone laced with skepticism. "Must have gotten the wrong spot," the woman replied, her comment followed by a soft, amused laugh. Lily felt the heat rising to her face, but she tried to stay calm. She lowered her head, pretending to read her magazine. Aaron leaned toward her, whispering, "Don't pay attention to them. They don't know anything about us." Lily bit her lip. She wanted to say something, to respond, but she knew it would only make things worse. Instead, she took a sip of the tea. Rebecca had finally brought it, but it was already cold. From across the lounge, an older man named Daniel took a seat nearby. Daniel wore a dark suit, his silver hair carefully groomed. He glanced toward Aaron and Lily, then offered a faint smile. "Busy flight today, isn't it?" he said, his voice deep and warm. Aaron nodded, trying to mask the frustration simmering beneath the surface. "Yes, it is. A busy morning." Daniel nodded again, his gaze lingering briefly on Rebecca as she walked past their table without asking if they needed anything else. "Service isn't what it used to be," he remarked, his tone calm but laced with subtle meaning. Aaron simply nodded, not wanting to prolong the conversation. When the announcement came over the speakers, signaling that their flight was ready for boarding, Lily picked up her bag and stood. She looked at Aaron, her eyes a mixture of worry and dissatisfaction. "I hope the rest of the trip goes better," she said softly. Aaron smiled reassuringly. "It will. We're not letting anyone ruin our day." The two of them walked out of the lounge together, carrying a sense of unease but also a quiet determination. They knew the biggest challenge might still be ahead. The Horizon Lux 742 taxied slowly, its engines humming softly as it rolled along the runway. Aaron and Lily Morgan finally settled into their first-class seats near the window, in a cabin with only a handful of passengers. But instead of feeling relaxed, they sensed an invisible tension hanging in the air. Lily adjusted her seat, trying to focus on the travel magazine she had brought along. Yet her mind couldn't escape the judgmental glances they had received from some of the other passengers as they boarded. She glanced at Aaron, who was arranging their belongings in the overhead compartment. He appeared calm, but Lily knew her husband well enough to notice the subtle tightness in his shoulders that betrayed his tension. Rebecca, a young flight attendant with her blonde hair neatly tied back, approached to greet the passengers. However, as she neared Aaron and Lily's seats, the warm demeanor she displayed with other travelers disappeared. Her gaze slid over them with a detached indifference. "Hello," Lily said softly, offering a polite smile in an effort to create a friendly atmosphere. "May I have a glass of water?" Rebecca paused, her expression blank. "I'll be back later," she replied curtly, then walked away without another word. Lily sat upright, her eyes suddenly sharp. She turned to Aaron and whispered, "Did you see that?" Aaron gave a slight nod, his voice calm but firm. "Stay calm, Lily. Let's not let this ruin our trip." Before long, Rebecca returned with a tray of drinks. She served the other passengers first, taking her time to ensure their satisfaction. Finally, she turned to Aaron and Lily, placing 2 glasses of water on their table hastily, causing the liquid to slosh over the rims. "Here you go," she said, her tone devoid of friendliness. Without an apology, Rebecca walked away immediately. Lily looked at Aaron, her frustration simmering. She didn't even apologize. "Did you catch that attitude?" she asked, her voice low. Aaron placed his hand over hers, giving it a gentle squeeze. "Don't let her get to you. We still have a long flight ahead." Not long after, the meal service began. When Rebecca approached their row, her voice was cool and detached. "Chicken or pasta? What will you have?" "We'll both have the pasta," Aaron responded, keeping his tone polite. Rebecca handed over the meal trays carelessly, forcing Lily to steady hers quickly to prevent it from spilling. Nearby passengers began to take notice, and some even murmured softly. Lily felt as though every minor action by Rebecca was deliberately targeted at them. After the meal, Rebecca returned to collect the trays. Without a word of thanks or even a smile, she snatched their trays in a brusque manner. Some passengers started whispering among themselves. Across the aisle, an elderly woman named Margaret observed quietly. She leaned toward her husband and murmured, "Do you think they're being treated differently?" Her husband shrugged, avoiding her gaze. "Maybe it's just their imagination. Don't get involved." Lily caught snippets of the murmurs but couldn't discern their exact words. She turned to Aaron, lowering her voice. "You think they notice it too, don't you?" Aaron sighed, leaning back in his seat. "Maybe, but like always, they'll stay silent." As the plane glided through the clouds, Lily stared out of the window, her gaze distant. Memories of past experiences flooded her mind. The judgmental stares, the subtle remarks, and the cold indifference they often encountered. "Why do I always have to prove that I belong here?" she wondered, a wave of helplessness washing over her. Aaron held her hand, his voice calm and steady. "We've worked hard to get here. No one has the right to take away your joy." Lily looked at him, her eyes filled with determination. "You're right, but I can't stay silent forever." The plane cruised smoothly through the sky, the dim lighting in the first-class cabin creating an atmosphere of comfort. Yet for Aaron and Lily Morgan, the tension remained. They didn't just feel isolated. They noticed Rebecca's actions becoming increasingly overt and impossible to ignore. When Rebecca came around with the next drink service, she bypassed Aaron and Lily entirely, not even glancing at their row. Lily frowned, feeling a sharp sting of disrespect. "She didn't even ask if we wanted anything," Lily said, her voice low but filled with frustration. Aaron maintained his calm exterior. He placed a hand on hers, his voice steady. "Don't let this get to you, Lily. Maybe she's just having a bad day." But deep down, Aaron couldn't deny that this didn't feel like a coincidence. Inside, he felt like a simmering volcano, ready to erupt at any moment. Some of the other passengers in the cabin began to notice Rebecca's treatment of Aaron and Lily. Margaret, the elderly woman seated across the aisle, whispered to her husband, "It's clear she's doing it on purpose. They haven't done anything wrong, yet they're being completely ignored." Her husband shrugged, unwilling to get involved. "Why bother, Margaret? It's none of our business." Margaret glanced at Aaron and Lily, her eyes showing sympathy. Still, she said nothing, choosing instead to observe silently. Rebecca returned with an even colder attitude. She stopped in front of Aaron and Lily, her voice louder than necessary, as though deliberately ensuring other passengers could hear. "Excuse me, I need to check your tickets again," she said, offering no smile or explanation. Lily looked up, her gaze icy. "Why? We've already shown our tickets multiple times." Rebecca shrugged, showing no trace of embarrassment. "It's just a random check." Aaron slowly closed his book and set it on the table. He looked directly at Rebecca, his voice calm but firm. "We were already checked before boarding. If this is a policy, why isn't it being applied to every passenger?" Rebecca hesitated, momentarily flustered, but quickly recovered her professional demeanor. "I'm just following regulations," she replied, though her tone betrayed her irritation. A few passengers in the cabin turned their heads, some raising their eyebrows, clearly beginning to notice something unusual. Margaret cleared her throat softly, as if wanting to say something, but holding back. Rebecca turned away without another word. Lily watched her go, feeling insulted yet again. "This isn't random," she whispered to Aaron, her voice trembling slightly with anger. "They're targeting us." Aaron nodded, his expression darkening. "I know, but what matters is how we handle it." Meanwhile, the murmurs in the cabin grew louder. A man in a blue suit across the aisle leaned toward his companion, speaking softly. "They don't look like the usual first-class passengers, do they?" His companion replied in a low voice. "Maybe that's why." Lily heard the remarks but didn't turn around. Instead, she took a deep breath, steadying herself to avoid showing any reaction. Yet her eyes betrayed the hurt and indignation she felt. Margaret finally spoke up, her voice soft but clear. "I don't think this is random. This kind of treatment isn't right." A few nearby passengers overheard her and glanced her way, their expressions a mix of surprise and hesitation. However, no one added anything, though a few sympathetic glances were directed toward Aaron and Lily. Aaron looked over at Margaret and gave her a small nod, a silent gesture of gratitude. It was a small act, but it gave both him and Lily a sense of solidarity. They resolved not to let the unfair treatment unsettle them. The atmosphere in the cabin remained tense, and Rebecca's behavior became increasingly overt. Aaron and Lily maintained their composure, but deep down they knew this situation would not resolve itself without confrontation. The stares, the whispers, and the silence of most passengers made them realize they weren't just facing one individual, but an entire invisible system of prejudice. The sky outside the plane remained a clear, tranquil blue, but the first-class cabin was heavy with tension. Aaron and Lily sat quietly, trying to keep their calm, though Lily's eyes stayed locked on Rebecca, the flight attendant who flitted between other passengers with a warm smile, a stark contrast to how she treated them. Rebecca returned, this time with an unusual air of confidence, as if she were prepared to escalate the situation. Standing squarely in front of Aaron and Lily's seats, she raised her voice. "Excuse me, but I need you to show your tickets again," she announced, loud enough for the surrounding passengers to hear. Lily could no longer contain herself. She turned fully toward Rebecca, her gaze sharp enough to cut through the air. "This is the third time you've asked to check our tickets. This is unreasonable. Why are we the only ones being repeatedly checked?" Rebecca raised an eyebrow, her tone cold and laced with defiance. "This is company policy to ensure safety." Aaron placed a calming hand on Lily's, as if to reassure her, but this time he didn't remain silent. His voice was low and resolute. "If this is policy, why isn't it being applied to all passengers? We've passed security, we've shown our tickets before boarding. Do you have a specific reason for asking us to do this again?" Rebecca faltered for a moment, clearly thrown off, but then quickly regained her feigned confidence. "We're just following regulations. If you refuse to cooperate, I'll be forced to report this." Other passengers in the cabin began to pay closer attention to the tension between Rebecca and the couple. Some whispered among themselves, others stared openly, and a few turned away, as if trying to avoid involvement. Margaret, the elderly woman who had been observing from the start, suddenly stood up. Her voice was louder than usual, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is ridiculous. What have they done to deserve this treatment? This is not how a first-class airline should treat its customers. Her words rang out like a bell in the cabin. A few other passengers nodded in agreement, though no one dared to speak further. Aaron looked at Margaret, nodding in gratitude before turning back to Rebecca. He stood up, his movement prompting Rebecca to take a small step back. "Say it outright," he said, his voice calm yet commanding. "What are you implying? If you think we don't belong in first class, just say it. But I will not tolerate this thinly veiled discrimination." Lily stood as well, her tone firm. "We paid for these seats, just like everyone else here, and we have the right to be treated with respect." Rebecca said nothing, her face shifting from confusion to a deep flush of embarrassment. She took a step back, as if searching for an explanation, but finding none. At that moment, the captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to serve you on today's flight. I'd like to extend a special thanks to our distinguished guests, Aaron and Lily Morgan, the largest shareholders of Horizon Lux, for choosing to fly with us." The cabin fell into a stunned silence. Every eye turned toward Aaron and Lily. Rebecca froze in place, her face drained of color. The other passengers seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation. Rebecca quickly approached Aaron and Lily, her voice trembling. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I truly didn't know." Lily looked at her, her eyes devoid of anger, but heavy with disappointment. "An apology isn't what we need," she said, her voice soft but unyielding. "What we need is for you, and everyone here, to think about how you've treated us. Not because of who we are, but because this should never happen to anyone." Aaron stepped forward, standing beside his wife. He added, "This isn't just a bad day for you. This was your choice, and choices have consequences." Rebecca bowed her head, stumbling back awkwardly. The cabin fell into an uneasy silence. Other passengers avoided looking at Aaron and Lily, yet they couldn't escape the lingering sense of shame. Aaron and Lily returned to their seats, their posture upright and confident, knowing they had done the right thing, not just for themselves but for anyone who had ever faced such unfair treatment. The first-class cabin fell into silence following the captain's announcement. Every passenger's eyes turned toward Aaron and Lily Morgan, who were now revealed to be more than just ordinary travelers. They were the largest shareholders of Horizon Lux Airlines. The tension spread like an invisible wave, silencing any whispers, leaving no one daring to speak. Rebecca, the flight attendant, who had shown them indifference throughout the flight, now stood frozen, her face pale. She clutched her serving tray tightly, as if it was the only thing keeping her steady. After a moment of hesitation, she stepped toward Aaron and Lily, offering a forced, shaky smile. "I'm so sorry for what happened," she said, her voice trembling. I didn't know who you were." Lily looked up at Rebecca, her gaze devoid of anger, but filled with profound disappointment. She exhaled deeply, then replied calmly, "It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is how you treat people, no matter who they are." Aaron nodded, his voice calm but cutting. "Your apology isn't for us. It's for everyone you've ever treated this way. And remember, you don't need to know someone's name to give them respect." The other passengers in the cabin began to react in different ways. Some lowered their heads, seemingly trying to avoid Aaron and Lily's gaze. Others murmured to each other, their whispers filled with confusion and unease. Margaret, the elderly woman who had been observing everything, sat upright, nodding in agreement with Lily's words. "Absolutely right," Margaret whispered to her husband. "They've said what we should have all realized long ago." A male passenger, dressed in a black suit, slowly rose to his feet. I just want to say that I'm sorry for not speaking up sooner. We all saw what happened, but we chose to stay silent. That was wrong." Aaron turned to look at the man, his gaze softening. "Thank you for saying that. Change begins with recognizing the mistake, and you've done that." The captain personally entered the first-class cabin, his expression serious yet maintaining a professional demeanor. Standing before Aaron and Lily, he gave a slight bow. "Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, on behalf of the entire crew, I apologize for what has occurred on this flight. We will investigate and address the matter immediately upon landing." Aaron stood, meeting the captain eye to eye. His voice was firm but measured. "This isn't just an isolated incident. It's a systemic issue, and it needs to be addressed at its root. I expect Horizon Lux to take a hard look at how its employees are trained and how they treat their customers." The captain nodded, his face reflecting genuine concern. "We are committed to doing that. Thank you for bringing this to our attention." Lily turned to the other passengers in the cabin, her voice gentle but loud enough for all to hear. "Today this happened to us, but it could happen to any one of you. We all deserve respect, not because of status or reputation, but simply because we are human." Her words struck a chord with many. Margaret nodded quietly, and this time, a few passengers around them also nodded in agreement. Rebecca lowered her head and retreated silently. She couldn't find any words to justify her behavior. As the plane began its descent towards Singapore, the atmosphere in the cabin shifted. An uncomfortable yet reflective silence settled over everyone. Aaron and Lily sat quietly, holding hands. They knew they had done the right thing, not just for themselves, but for others as well. Before the plane fully landed, Margaret approached them. "Thank you for speaking up. Sometimes we need someone to remind us that respect is not negotiable," she said. Lily smiled warmly in response. "We all have a responsibility to remind one another. Thank you for your support." The plane touched down smoothly on the runway, but the storm Aaron and Lily had stirred during the flight continued to resonate. They understood that this was only the beginning, but every step forward, no matter how small, could lead to meaningful change. This time, they had not only taught a lesson to Rebecca, but also to everyone who had borne witness to what unfolded. The atmosphere in the first-class cabin remained tense. Nearly everyone stole glances at Aaron and Lily Morgan, but no one dared to approach them directly. What had transpired on the flight had become a lesson no one could easily forget. A representative from Horizon Lux was waiting at the gate to greet Aaron and Lily. A middle-aged man named Richard, dressed in a sharp suit, stepped forward with a bright smile that couldn't mask the concern in his eyes. "Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, welcome to Singapore. I'm Richard, the Regional Executive Director for Horizon Lux in Asia. We've been informed about the incident on your flight and would like to extend our sincerest apologies." Aaron nodded slightly, maintaining his composure. "Thank you for coming to meet us, but I think the apology should be extended to all passengers and everyone who's ever endured treatment like we did today." Richard hesitated, his smile faltering briefly. "We are committed to conducting a thorough investigation and taking the necessary actions to ensure this doesn't happen again." As Richard was speaking with Aaron and Lily, Rebecca slowly approached. She was no longer wearing her flight attendant uniform but casual clothing. Her face showed clear signs of exhaustion and anxiety, and she couldn't meet Aaron and Lily's eyes directly. I truly apologize for what happened," Rebecca said, her voice soft and trembling. "I know an apology can't make up for what I did. I regret my actions and will take responsibility." Lily looked at Rebecca for a long moment, her gaze not angry but understanding. "Rebecca, this isn't about us. It's about how you treat people. We just want you to realize that this should never happen to anyone." Aaron stepped forward, his voice deep and steady. "You have the opportunity to change, not just for yourself, but for the people you'll encounter in the future. Don't waste it." Aaron and Lily were invited to the airport's VIP lounge, where Richard had arranged an impromptu meeting with several senior Horizon Lux executives. The meeting was conducted in a serious tone as Aaron and Lily detailed their experiences and demanded concrete solutions. "The problem isn't just about one individual," Aaron said firmly. "It's a cultural issue. Your employees are trained to work efficiently, but it's clear they aren't trained on how to treat customers equitably." Lily continued, her tone calm yet resolute. "We want to see a specific plan, a comprehensive retraining program for all employees, from flight attendants to leadership. No one deserves to be treated the way we were today." Richard nodded, diligently taking notes. "We understand, and we will do everything we can to make a change. A comprehensive training program will be implemented within this quarter, and we are committed to updating you on our progress." As Aaron and Lily prepared to leave the VIP lounge, Margaret, the elderly woman from the flight, approached them. "Thank you for speaking up," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "I don't think I would have had the courage to do it myself. You've shown us that sometimes silence is a form of complicity." Aaron smiled and shook her hand. "We can all do something, no matter how small. Change begins with actions like this." As they stepped out of the airport, Lily turned to Aaron, her expression brighter than before. Do you think things will change? Aaron took her hand, his eyes reflecting quiet determination. Change always takes time, but we've planted the seed. What matters is that we keep doing what's right. Lily nodded, a smile spreading across her face. She knew that while this flight hadn't been the peaceful journey they had hoped for, it had become a turning point for them, and perhaps for others as well. Aaron and Lily left the airport with the belief that their journey was about more than just reaching a destination. It was about changing how people perceive and treat one another. They weren't just passengers. They were individuals who had left an indelible mark on those around them. Aaron and Lily later received a formal invitation from Horizon Lux to attend the launch of a new employee training program designed to improve customer service and attitudes. The event was held at the airline's headquarters, with senior leadership, employees, and media in attendance. Richard, the regional executive, stood on stage and opened the event with an emotional speech. He recounted the incident on Aaron and Lily's flight, acknowledged the airline's mistakes, and pledged to make meaningful changes. Horizon Lux isn't just an airline. We're a service for people, and that means treating everyone with the respect they deserve, Richard said. Today we embark on a new journey, and it's thanks to the courage of Mr. and Mrs. Morgan. Aaron and Lily were invited to speak. Lily, in an elegant blue dress, stepped up to the podium, her voice soft yet powerful. Respect is not a privilege. It is a basic right that everyone deserves. I hope this program isn't just a one-time gesture, but becomes a core part of Horizon Lux's culture. Aaron followed, his eyes shining with determination. Change is never easy, but it always starts with small steps. We hope today marks the beginning of building a fairer future. The room erupted in applause, not out of admiration for a powerful couple, but out of respect for their courage to stand for what is right. After the ceremony, Rebecca, the flight attendant, who had shown prejudice during the flight, approached Aaron and Lily. She looked different. Gone was the nervousness and fear, replaced with genuine sincerity. I want to thank you both, Rebecca said, her voice filled with emotion. I participated in this training program, and it's made me realize so much. I understand now that I need to change, not just in my job, but in my life. Lily smiled, placing a hand on Rebecca's shoulder. Change is a journey. You've taken the first step, and that's the most important part. Back home, Aaron and Lily sat on their favorite couch, enjoying the peace after an eventful week. Lily gazed out the window at the setting sun, its warm hues of red and gold painting the sky. Do you think they'll keep their word? Lily asked, her voice tinged with a hint of doubt. Aaron took her hand, his smile gentle. We've planted the seed. It's their responsibility to nurture it, but I believe we've done the right thing. Lily nodded, her eyes reflecting newfound faith. I think so too. At least we didn't stay silent, and that means something. A few days later, Aaron and Lily received an email from Horizon Lux. Attached was a photo of new employees participating in the training program, along with a message from Richard. Thanks to your advocacy, we've developed a program that not only changes how our employees work, but also how they view respect and fairness. Aaron and Lily shared their story with friends and family, and it quickly spread, becoming a lesson in standing against injustice. Not with anger or confrontation, but with dignity and patience. A year later, Aaron and Lily returned to the airport for another Horizon Lux flight. They noticed a striking change, from the warmth of the staff to the respect evident in every small detail. As they boarded, a young flight attendant smiled warmly at them, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. Welcome aboard, Mr. and Mrs. Morgan. It's an honor to serve you. Aaron and Lily exchanged a glance, saying nothing. They knew that what they had done was more than just changing a single flight. It was starting a new journey toward fairness and respect.